All right, we're live. Well, we're not live actually. This is a recording. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our second episode of the podcast, the CyberCast podcast. I'm Marco, and I have here joining me my fellow classmate, Noah.
How are you doing, everybody? My name is Noah. I am the youngest person in the class. I am 19, and I am in the cybersecurity um, department, I guess. As Marco said on the last podcast, currently we are studying for our Network Plus certification.
Yeah, so we actually take that in 2 or 1 week and a half. It's really, really close.
Yeah,
So
a week and a half. Whew.
yeah, I am excited. You need to register actually already because the times are. Oh,
Okay.
but yeah, now we'll talk about that later.
All right.
So my first question for you.
Okay.
Do you think you could tell me a little bit of how you got started into cybersecurity?
Yes, my path to get here was a little bit interesting. So, originally, I had no plans of going into cybersecurity. My original plan was to go into aviation,
Oh
to
wow.
fly planes.
Yeah.
So, um, there's that. So, I got accepted into Liberty University for their aviation program, but
Nice.
it ended up being way too expensive. It was like, after all my scholarships and stuff, it was about it could be 12 to about 50K a semester.
Oh
So
wow.
it was way too expensive. So I moved down with my parents who live in Nuevo Laredo due to my dad's work, and I got a internship at the consulate in Nuevo Laredo working for the DOS or the Department of State.
Nice.
So that's the internship is kind of where I got um my, I guess, interest in cybersecurity.
Hmm.
I started off in a department called IRM, which was Information Resource Management. So they do all the uh, security, the network security, the network, um, all the stuff that your IT people would do, plus a little bit more. We handle the mail and mail scanning and that kind of thing. So that's how I started. I'm bumped around a little bit in my internship, but that's where I mainly stayed for
Hmm.
the couple months I was there.
So do you so when you first started, you said you wanted to study aviation. Did you
Yeah.
actually complete a semester or you
So,
yeah.
for aviation, my high school had an aviation program where you started on your private pilot's license,
Okay.
and through them, it was a lot cheaper. It was substantially cheaper. But due to uh an accident at school. We lost one of our planes.
Oh,
It crashed. Nobody was hurt, but
okay.
that kind of uh, screwed up my hours, so I couldn't complete my private pilots before I left school. So I'd have to get it elsewhere, and it was just too expensive.
And you mentioned that it, the private aviation program was during your high school years?
It was.
Oh wow.
I planned on continuing it to college, but then I realized, oh, I can't afford that.
Yeah. So did you know as a like when you were young that that you had an interest in aviation?
Kind of. I originally wanted to be an archaeologist, and
Mm-hmm.
then I found out you can't really make an amazing living off of that. Um, and I wanted to do a couple other things, but one of our family friends took me up in a plane and let me fly around a little bit, and I was like, oh, this is something that could be a really fun career.
Yeah,
So then I went to that school and they offered the program, so I was like, you know what, let's go for it. And then, well, got too expensive.
yeah. Do you think you could have done that program somewhere else less expensive?
I looked at a lot of different schools, even outside of where I was, and all of them were. I wouldn't say they're as expensive, but they're around 80 to 100K to get
Mm,
the certifications you need, and I couldn't afford that. So,
yeah. Do you think maybe you could get a ch you could get your school paid for by the state?
what do you mean?
Well, for the job you're working right now, do you think that they could pay a portion of your aviation license if you take it on the side?
Um, it. I guess it depends. Like, I know for for sorry, my mind's going blank for a second. For a
Hmm.
couple alphabet agencies, they'll pay for your pilot stuff, but it's mainly for helicopter pilots.
Okay.
So that's an option. But I've gotten into this cybersecurity, and I'm loving it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So, well, that's great news that the career change you made due to some circumstances financially, you actually found something you love to do, and you
Yeah,
just found it by accident,
yeah,
you could say. It was also like that for me as well. I had a career change and I'm liking it so far. I really, really like it, but I mean, I just hope that I continue with this passion that I have and it does not go away. I hope it's not
yeah.
temporary, but I could only wait and see.
Fair enough. There's
Yeah.
just so much. There's so much to do. In cybersecurity, it's not just like one thing.
Yes, it's
There's just
super
so many
broad.
different. Yeah.
And is there an area in particular that, well, what area in cybersecurity do you deal with right now in your job?
Right now, um, Marco, I can't talk about that.
Oh,
Yeah.
or well, you can't even speak about the field, like if it's
I can talk about
incidents
the intern.
response.
I can talk about the internship part.
Yeah. So
So,
the internship part, what field of cybersecurity was it, or just your
well,
experience?
it was more of me learning all sorts of different things, but I'd say server management and threat management. So we try to keep everything up to date to uh, not have to deal with threats
Yeah.
or counter them before they would, become a problem.
Mhm.
Um, so we'd also do installing or replacing computers, um, that kind of thing.
So kind of IT stuff.
Yeah, just basic IT stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just that's that's how I really got introduced to, cybersecurity um and IT, that internship, and I really really enjoyed it. So I decided, let's see if a local college or even an online college has a program in either cybersecurity or IT, and then I found Laredo College, and I was like, oh, this sounds really cool. So
Yeah, because you were telling me earlier how, well, when we first met, that you kind of went to LC just for fun, because you were kind
yeah,
of not challenged
yeah.
by your work or something, or what you were doing.
Um, so it was more of I needed an education,
Oh, yes.
So it was like, okay, we will we will see. I started general studies, uh, and just took a couple classes and was like, this is kind of boring. Just the general classes. Let's see what
Yeah.
else LC has to offer. And it was either cybersecurity or welding, and I decided cybersecurity sounded more fun.
Yeah. And yeah, the I always see the welders next to our class. They're always
Yeah.
up late like us.
Yeah.
So what have I know you just got started in your journey because you're very young, but what are the major challenges that you've faced? Um, I don't know if you could talk about that, but
I can. So I guess one of the main things was just learning because I dealt with computers a little bit in the past. I did a basic programming class, but it focused mainly on like robotics.
okay.
So it was like a complete flip
Yeah.
from what I was doing in the past. So it was like, oh, what am I doing here at first? It was just kind of got thrown in. So it was it was just like a constant, battle to try to figure out what I'm doing, um, how to do it right, how to do it better,
Mm.
um, and just completely different from aviation. From flying planes to working on computers is just a massive flip. So it was that was a major challenge. Um, and then I I guess just all the language that's used for IT,
Yes.
going from nothing to hearing it every day and trying to figure out what does that mean.
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
was a big one. And then I don't speak Spanish, and
Oh,
my coworkers all spoke Spanish, and they're almost always speaking in Spanish. They know not a lot of English, so it was trying to decipher two different languages at once.
yeah. Do you feel like you've learned a lot of Spanish?
Speaking it, no. Can I understand it? Yes,
Mm.
some of it.
So how long have you um been living there?
Uh, since June or July,
So almost a year.
just about a year. Yep.
So you went from not understanding Spanish, correct?
Yep.
To knowing what they're talking about.
Yep. It kind of, it kind of helps if you're thrown into it.
Hmm.
Because you're like, you can't sink any further. You're already at bottom. You just, you just got to go up from there.
But would you be like, oh, what does that mean? With that word that you just
Yeah.
said, what does that mean? And then they would
Yeah.
teach you.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, because I was kind of confused. I thought you were just hearing the words and then you over time it just
Well,
made sense, but
well, some of the words are similar to English, so it
like
was like,
hospital,
oh, yeah,
hospital, hospital. It's the same thing.
yeah. So some of it's you can translate in your brain. It's kind of obvious, and some of it's like, what does that word mean? And they're like, oh, it means X or Y or whatever.
Wow. So
Yeah.
there was a lot of stuff going, you were getting a lot of information crammed in your brain. Language
Yep.
and IT and the IT language. So yeah, I could see how that's definitely a big challenge you faced. And I mean that's great that you were able to overcome it this year. You've done yeah, been very productive this year. You've gained a lot of new skills, so that's very
I
good.
agree. Sometimes the challenges you face help you grow the most.
I feel like that's all the time.
Yeah,
That's how we grow.
I feel like it's the best way to grow.
Yeah, I agree. So, is there any other challenges?
I'd say that's the major one.
Hmm.
Um, Sometimes wiring and stuff got a little bit confusing, but
Oh, okay.
that one that one was pretty easy once you get the hang of it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But for well, I know some people learn faster than others, but when I was um oh, I was trying to remember if you were here last semester, but no. So when I originally started the wiring, the Ethernet standards, it took me super long, way longer than most people. I actually stayed there for an extra 4 hours to get it, and I know one of my other classmates he got it maybe 1 or 2 hours in, so he was just kind of a natural at that. But at first it took me so long, but as soon as you get that first 2 wires, 3 wires in, then it just sticks to you and you know how to do it.
Yeah,
So what, how do you think people could get into the cybersecurity field? What do you think is the
I,
best
I
way?
I don't really know if there is a best way, but there is so many different ways. There's well, you can go through it through high school. There's a couple of high school programs uh, that focus on like IT or cybersecurity. College is a good way, but also just like learning on the job. That's
Yeah.
kind of what I did, and I
Hmm.
found it works pretty nicely.
Yeah, that's great. But getting the job is the hard part.
I agree.
But
Jobs are
as soon as you get
jobs are hard
oh sorry
to get.
sorry.
It's all good.
As soon as you get that first job, as you said, you yeah, it's all uphill from there or
Yeah.
downhill. I I don't know the exact, but basically it's like as soon as you get the job, you are you are good.
Set.
Yeah, you're set.
Yeah.
So, going back to your internship, could you say some of the most memorable experiences?
I'd say some of the most memorable experiences are where I messed up.
Mm.
But the times you mess up are also the times you learn the most. You can't learn if you don't make mistakes.
Mhm.
So I feel that mistakes are just part of human nature. And if you make them, as long as they're not like, horrible mistakes, like you downloaded like 80 viruses onto the network or whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like the small mistakes are how you learn the most. So I feel like my mistakes, like messing up a wiring thing or putting in the wrong code or something, are just the most memorable due to just learning from them.
Yeah. That's actually on this topic. I was speaking to our professor, and he told us a story that he brought down a whole, well, he was working as a network administrator, and he actually brought down the whole network because he
Oh,
worked at a school, so he brought down the whole network by misconfiguring something, and he was very nervous because he made that mistake. But then the higher ups, when he told them, his boss, his boss just laughed, and he was like, "No way." So I feel as if the technical people, they kind of don't take the mistakes as seriously
yeah,
because
that's what I experienced too. They were my coworkers just kind of laughed and showed me the right way to do it.
yeah, because they know that everyone makes the mistakes, especially when you're barely learning.
Exactly. So most of the time, it's pretty understandable, and your coworkers will just help you out.
Yeah, because myself and I'm imagine others included, they believe, well, they're scared to make the mistakes because they think they're gonna get fired. That was one of my concerns when I was talking to my professor or our
Uh,
professor, and that's when he told me that story, and he just reassured me that a big mistake will not lose your job.
I guess it really depends on the mistake, but majority of the time, mistakes are how you learn and grow. As long as they're not like you know
Yeah,
taking down like not just one system, but taking down multiple.
yeah. Um, yeah, I'm sure I'm sure that the mistakes, um, you're not gonna do something that's out of reach. The mistakes are
Yeah.
gonna be relatively, well, if you're competent, which is everyone in a job, they're not gonna, for like for example, you a mistake for you where you would get fired was is tell the an enemy confidential information. Well, obviously you're not gonna do that. So
Well, yeah.
yeah,
Most of the time, like I'm not dealing with that, so you know.
yeah. So the mistakes, yeah, you're not gonna obviously do them, but
No,
yeah,
most of the mistakes that can get you fired, you have to purposely do it.
okay, yeah, that's how I feel
So,
too. And he was also telling me another story where, I think he was at a conference and the person was talking about how they how they deleted a whole database
oh no.
in
Oh
production,
no.
and that's probably one of the worst things you could do.
Oh,
And when
oh
they
no.
yeah, and when they told the boss, he kind of just laughed and he was like, "Oh
What-
my gosh, you're so something along the lines of, oh my gosh, like that's funny."
This
But
is why you gotta have backups.
yeah, I'm sure they definitely had that because it's a, well, it was a big company, I believe, or I'm not too sure, but
I can
um,
honestly say I've never made a mistake quite that big.
yeah, yeah, those mistakes are pretty rare, I would say.
Yeah.
But even then, she didn't get fired. The person didn't get fired. Um, but yeah, as I said, when it comes to the IT people, they know that everyone makes mistakes when they're learning. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe the more of the business management leaders, they will probably take the mistakes way worse than the technical people.
We just try to keep the things running.
Yeah. So, is there any other memorable experiences?
I guess meeting people
Oh, that's
and
true.
actually interacting with like different people that you meet. Like I was in Mexico City and I visited the embassy and I talked to the vice chief of IRM down there. I don't know her exact position title, but she has had like 40 some odd years of IT experience.
Wow.
So just like a ridiculous amount of time and it was just crazy just to talk to her and get her experience.
This talk, it was more of a casual talk,
Oh yeah,
or it was
it
more
was
business?
it was just casual. It was I was down there. Uh, could you possibly slip me in for like 10 minutes just to talk about your job? That's it.
Oh, so she asked about you?
No, I asked about her.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, nice.
yeah. So it's
Yes.
just interesting to get a career long IT person just to talk to.
Oh, for sure. That's actually what what I want to do. I want to surround myself by smarter, more experienced people because that's the best way to learn.
Yeah, you learn so you don't make their mistakes.
Yes. Yeah. And they also teach you tips that when they were growing up in the industry, they did not have, and that's very
Exactly.
beneficial. For example,
I agree.
Mr. Pettit, well, my our professor was he gave me a tip, something about file sharing and becoming root and how to access the files. But that mistake, he said that he didn't know when
Ah,
he was already in the field. I think he got his associates and then he went into the field and he didn't know that um trick. So I'm already at a more an advantage than when he was barely starting off. So I'm very grateful for that.
he is a great teacher.
Yeah. I yeah, we were talking when we were talking earlier, you mentioned how you're meeting so many people, and that's definitely something I would like to experience. Because when you have a job like that, you're surrounded by yeah, smarter individuals. So I would like to get that experience as well, but I probably will once I get my first job soon.
Yeah. Networking as in like talking to people, not networking.
Yeah,
But networking I feel like is an important part of the job. Just meeting people who even if they have been in the field less than you, just getting their experience, and I feel like everybody has something to teach.
yes, I completely
And
agree.
even if they've been in the field for like a year, they might have learned something that you haven't even heard of or thought of or whatever. So I feel like everybody has important experiences.
And even outside of IT, that's why I love talking to people because I view every person as an opportunity to learn something new, and
Absolutely.
I really love that, and that's something that I did not know would not practice before until I started listening to uh the Lex Friedman podcast. I don't know if you've heard of him.
I have not.
Yeah, he's pretty popular. He has big names such as Elon Musk and Joe Rogan and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, I I like what he teaches, and yeah, I'm grateful for that. Actually, it's actually really really cool that I saw him post that he was going to be traveling across the country, and he made a form saying if um that he wants to go have conversations over coffee, and he made a form for us regular people, regular viewers to fill out that we could potentially have a conversation with him while he's traveling. So that's
Oh,
such
that's
a
actually really cool.
I've never seen anyone do that. Once people are
I
famous, they usually talk to other famous people or stuff like that. But
Yeah,
he's really by doing that, it shows his humbleness and his curiosity. And I
yeah,
definitely filled out that form. Hopefully he comes down here
that'd
to
be really
Laredo.
cool.
That would honestly be a crazy. I think it would be a very important moment in my life because I listen to him a lot.
Yeah, that'd be really awesome.
Yeah. I wonder how many of these conversations that he will have in the future.
Probably a lot.
Yeah. So I know it's getting close to 30 minutes. I don't know if you could keep on going longer or you have to go soon.
It's I I could probably go another like 5-10 minutes.
Okay. I would just finish off with one or two more questions. Let me see.
Cool.
So, where what is your perspective on the current state of cybersecurity right now?
Ooh, that's actually a really nice question right there. I feel like in certain cases, cybersecurity it definitely has tons of room to improve, tons of room to like new techniques, new systems to be put in place. But at the same time, we got to make do what we have right now. So I feel like there's a lot of unknowns in cybersecurity, and just we have to make do with what we have.
Yes, I agree because I I believe it's fairly new, this field, or just all this technology bloom or boom.
Yeah,
So securing the devices was I've heard that it was that they made the internet first and then they security was an afterthought. So we have to play catch up.
exactly. So it's just you got to make do with what you have, but new stuff is always being invented, both for security and for hacking. So it's just playing catch up and trying to do the best you can with what you have.
Yeah. And where do do you see this industry um where do you see this industry heading in the future?
I feel like cybersecurity in general has no place to go but up.
Hmm.
Um, Technology is only going to get bigger, so it's just how big is it going to get? What's going to be developed. But I feel like in general, the industry has no place to go but up.
So curious what how technology is going to be in the 10 years because with AI recently, in 2 years it's going to be super different. It's exponentially growing that field.
Yeah,
So I'm pretty
and how
curious about that.
AI is going to play into everything.
Yeah, have you seen Black Mirror?
No.
Oh, well, it's a series on futuristic or concepts in the future. For example, having your memory all recorded in a chip in your brain or something like that. I feel like that's
Oh,
definitely something that's possible in
that's
the future.
that's intriguing.
And it was very interesting because they kind of have a like a dark perspective on it, and it's very interesting. I uh I would like to get it back into that show.
That would be very, very interesting.
Are
I'm
you
just
sorry?
I don't know how AI is going to affect the field. I don't think any of us know quite how AI is going to affect this field, you know.
Yeah, I feel like definitely it's going to it's such a useful tool because it's working, it's doing all the work and it doesn't have to go to sleep. It could
Yeah,
continuously start learning and that's a game changer. I
I've
believe.
messed
Yeah.
I've messed around a little bit with AI like ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Uh it can write like entire codes for you
What have
in
you
like
what have you tried to input?
um well, there's we used it in the programming class in my high school.
What?
A very early version of it.
Oh, nice. That's really cool.
And it it can write like entire codes on basically whatever you want,
Yeah.
which is wild, Like something that like you or I would spend hours on developing, it can do in like a minute.
Yeah.
Just ridiculous.
Yes.
And
That's
it's got so much potential to do so much good, yet so much harm that you know, it's a bit
well,
scary.
well, with every amazing technology, the attackers are gonna turn it bad.
Yeah, true.
So I don't know. That's a very fine line to walk on. Um, like making constant improvements in technology because then it's gonna be easier for the bad guys to hack, like new hacking technologies. There's a company making like you could just attach a USB into your computer and it wirelessly takes that information and wirelessly transfers it back to the hacker's computer and just or also a Wi-Fi password cracker or something like that. But basically, they make it very easy with pre-made tools to hack, and now it's widely available, super cheap, very affordable, and the bad guys have access to it as well. So yeah, I'm not sure. Um, I haven't really thought about the ethics behind that. Like if it's better, well, obviously it's better to come up with new technology, but
Yeah,
if it's better to make it publicly available for everyone.
yeah. I guess it's just again, as you said, that fine line.
Yeah, it's not it's not in my power to be thinking about those things. First, I need to get into the field, so I'll let
Yeah,
the higher ups figure that out.
agreed. That's above my pay grade.
Yep. Well, Noah, it was a pleasure talking to you. I appreciate
Pleasure
your
talking to you.
I appreciate your time and your responses, and hopefully we could talk again in the future.
I agree. I will definitely be looking forward to our next chat.
Yes, sir. Anytime.